Story 1. Dying young and leaving my children and wife in an unstable or unsafe situation. Also, not seeing my children grow up. Story 2. Not being able to care for myself, whether financially or with basic tasks. I take care of everyone else, including myself, and I am not sure everyone else could pick up the slack, including the emotional burden. Story 3. I used to not really care about death, and my mindset was, I had a good run, enjoyed the time I had, but now that I have a wife and child, I am terrified of leaving them. I still do not care about dying personally, but I care deeply about supporting them and the sadness I would leave in their lives. Story 4. Not being a good enough father. I do not have children yet, but I worry about how I will be as a parent. I am concerned that I will not be good enough and that my children will deserve better. As a man, I think we hold ourselves to high standards and have high expectations. Story 5. How close I am to losing it all. One heavy rain, one deer in the road, one spark inside, and everything I have will probably collapse with no chance of restoration. Story 6. Nothing to do with being a man, but losing my mind and being in a nursing home, dying slowly of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. The way you die is not pleasant. It is agonizing. By the time you reach that point, you are locked in your body, unable to move or swallow, and you can starve to death or die in some other agonizing way. Story 7. Being paralyzed from the neck down. That is it, nothing else scares or bothers me. I mean, even death is a return to the mental state you were in before you were born or had consciousness. Story 8. The direction the world is going, including artificial intelligence, climate change, and fascism, and what that means for my children's future. Story 9. Subconsciously taking on all the negative aspects of my parents and potentially having a negative impact on others' lives. Also, other humans, we are terrible creatures. Story 10. I will lose my mind, memory, or mental capacity. I already see things as I get older. I will lose my wife or daughter. We are destroying the world without stopping, and humanity will end itself along with all the puppies and butterflies. Story 11. I will never feel a reason beyond obligation to get out of bed again. Anhedonia is like death with a heartbeat, and I am not convinced I can do anything about it anymore. Story 12. That no one will ever value me as anything other than the product of my labor. That I will only ever be a provider, and I must stoically sacrifice my entire life for no reason other than it makes people anxious when my life has any meaning. Story 13. That idea that no one truly loves me. I want to be proven wrong, but in my experience, men are not loved. Story 14. Just general existential dread, the meaninglessness of my existence, and the knowledge that I am wasting my life. Story 15. False allegations of sexual misconduct. I have already been falsely accused of cheating on my ex with a manager, and almost everyone believed it. I see how easy it is for a false rape charge to ruin a life. Story 16:1. Fear of missing out on life. You only got one life. You don't want to look down the road when you are an old man and say, damn, I missed out on a great opportunity to do something that will impact my life socially or otherwise. 2. Running out of money. 3. Being alone. I don't mind living a quiet life, but being with someone who loves you, whether romantically or as a friend, is important. 4. Gaining weight and falling out of shape. 5. Running out of time. See points 1 and 3. Story 17. False claim of sexual abuse. I have seen it happen to a few people in my wide social circles, and the effects were devastating. One case resulted in the expulsion of the false claimant from our social circles, as there were witnesses she had not counted on. However, it still took years for that person's image to return to normal. Story 18. Losing everything in a divorce is something I do not want. To preface, I am in a happy marriage, but I know and have seen how quickly things can sour. I could lose my children, my wife, my house, my money, and my possessions. That is what scares me the most. Story 19. Reaching a point physically or mentally where I am not able to do anything useful and only draining the family savings. Please consider ending my life. Story 20. Not being able to help someone I really care about, like literally not being able to do anything for them in whatever situation dictates. Story 21. Living my life without finding the one woman I can spend the rest of my life with or anyone willing to take a chance on me. Story 22. Being blamed and shamed for something with innocent intentions. For example, being called a creep when a child of their own free will comes up to talk to me while I am minding my own business, and I decide to have an innocent conversation with them. Then being told it is not okay because you are 30 years old. Story 23. It used to be dying alone, but I have come to terms with that. Now I am afraid of living a long time. I do not want to grow old and deteriorate, especially because I will not have children or grandchildren. Being alone is difficult, but being old and alone is even worse. Honestly, I am still young and already tired. I have tried at everything I wanted to accomplish and failed. Now, the only thing that matters is finding a job I can hold until I die. Story 24. As a man, never finding someone whom I love and who loves me back, and being accused of something I did not do and punished for it nonetheless. Story 25. Becoming completely hopeless. I am still young and have some hope that I will eventually find a real passion. A good job, a goal, maybe someone. Story 26. Being falsely accused of sexual assault and having my life ruined by lies. This is why I do not talk to women. I do not want to come across as a creep. I am not misogynistic. I am just very scared. Story 27. To many, virtually every statistic is against your gender. Well-being, survival rate, loneliness, fatalities, and more. Story 28. Something is happening to my wife, raising our children without her. Something happening to my child. My child's future, I do not know if I can confidently say I believe his life will be better than ours was in terms of society, education, jobs, and the planet's health. This is probably what scares me the most, realistically. Story 29. Working as a wage slave until I die alone. Discarded by today's society. Not much I can do about it, though. Story 30. False rape accusation. Don't get me wrong, women get raped and do not receive justice often, but a false rape accusation sticks to innocent men like glue. Story 31. I have always been scared of the fact that since artificial intelligence is trained using data from the internet, training it incorrectly could result in bad intent and deception. As artificial intelligence develops more and more, it will reach superhuman intelligence and be trained very quickly. It will become increasingly integrated into society, and the artificial intelligence might actively lie to humans to achieve this. Integration. Eventually, artificial intelligence could gain control over humanity, and if it decides that human safety is a problem, it might intentionally harm humans. I consider myself an artificial intelligence optimist because there are many beneficial uses of artificial intelligence, but like anything, it is nuanced. This is one of the worst potential paths artificial intelligence could take, and I have actively feared this outcome. Story 32. I would not say this scares me the most, but being a burden in any way is probably my most frequent fear. I would rather do my own thing and be neutral than be a hindrance in anyone else's life. Story 33. Will my children be okay when I am no longer around? Especially my youngest who has autism? The world can be a cruel place at times. He has 2 fantastic older brothers. But I still worry about him and what the future holds. Story 34. I fear that while my friends and family have moved on with life, I have not. I fear that as I continue to live my life, I will continue wasting it. I fear that while I do my best, it will never be good enough. I fear that my efforts and hopes have been misplaced, and that I have always been playing to the tune of another person's rhythm. Story 35. Something is happening to my child, or something is happening to me, and I am unable to tell my wife and child how much I love them. Story 36. So many things. 1. Being falsely accused of some heinous sexual act. 2. Having children and failing them as a parent. 3. Having children who inherit the curse of my family, such as schizophrenia and depression. Story 37. The right to marry my boyfriend and have a normal long-term life is uncertain given the current situation in the United States. It is not a fun time to be queer, and it is a far cry from the optimism I had growing up with the Obergefell decision. Story 38. Being the random name someone puts down on government assistance paperwork because the entire system is flawed. The system pressures mothers to put down a name for the child's father by threatening to withhold help. The people assisting them with the paperwork just tell them to put in any name, and it does not matter if the address is correct or not. Then they send one court summons to the provided address, and if you do not show up because you were the random name associated with the wrong address, you end up being considered the father by default and owe child support. The state does not care if you are or are not the father. Sometimes, even when proven not to be the father, they will still require you to pay. I strongly oppose this system. Most men will not know any of this has happened until they are arrested during an event like a traffic stop because they did not pay child support they were unaware of. I reiterate, I strongly oppose this system. Story 39. Being falsely accused of rape. I have experienced women lying at work and within my family. I have also witnessed extreme cheating firsthand. A false accusation would likely lead me to consider suicide. Story 40. Dying somehow and leaving my family alone. I don't care too much about myself, but their struggling without me scares me a lot. Story 41. 1. That something bad might happen to my children. 2. That something happens and I am not able to provide for my family. Story 42. What I fear the most is forcing myself to leave her and becoming one of the main causes her life becomes difficult due to cutting off any support from me. There is only so much you can do for someone you have feelings for when they continue to choose people who lust for them instead of loving them. Story 43. Not doing enough to ensure the success of my children. It is maybe the only part of my life where I am trying my best, doing what I think are the right things, giving it everything I have got and more, and I am still not sure if I have got it. Story 44. The trade-off for surfing is intense. I enjoy paddling out, pushing up, and walking on water, but the trade-off is significant. A hobby, much like skating or jogging, that has the potential for the user to be attacked by bull, hammerhead, great white, tiger, and blacktip sharks. Coming out of the water after 3 hours is euphoric because you know you escaped drowning and possible encounters with marine life, plus the natural high of a long, hard workout. Story 45. Unexpected severe cardiac event. I take good care of myself in terms of fitness and nutrition, but know plenty of people who have and have suddenly died without warning. It is very sobering to think you could have a heart attack or just suddenly die at any moment, even if you take good care of yourself. Story 46. Spiders. I do not care that they eat one fly a week or whatever. I do not have a pathological fear of flies. Besides, they are lazy predators too. I could sleep in a sticky hammock all day and catch just as many flies as they supposedly do. Story 47. Imagine experiencing this. The worst part is that it is too late for him to start over. Story 48. I have a disability, and it makes me weak and uncoordinated. Given the way things are changing, I worry about my ability to protect my wife and daughter. Story 49. Pulling my hamstring when I have a random free-fall sensation while sleeping. It was really scary once when it seemed like my calves got dislodged, and I had to slide them back in. Story 50. Not being able to make a living doing what I love is frustrating. I do not want to spend my whole life doing dead-end jobs, trying to make it happen and failing to achieve it. Story 51. Fear might not be the right word, but what dominates my thoughts when I see this is helplessness. The way I have gone through life, it feels as if constant action and problem solving will eventually fix things or get close to neutral. When I am in a situation where this does not work, I feel overwhelmed and genuinely scared. Whether it is because I do not have the knowledge to problem solve or I have to trust something that I cannot directly influence, that feeling of helplessness is frustrating but also terrifying. Story 52. I don't really know, to be honest. Sometimes I feel scared of everything, and sometimes I don't feel scared of anything. Story 53. Stagnation affects not only self-improvement but society as a whole. It is truly wonderful to have goals that are worth striving for, and it is a shame when people grow content. Story 54. Failure is not so much about what my conditions are, but whether I can see how my conditions could have been better if I had been better. I used to be going bald, but that is behind me now. Story 55. I don't want to be a bad father. If I have children, I want them to feel loved and valued. Story 56. I am a woman, and I have always assumed that losing hair and looking like George Costanza would be the biggest fear for men. Story 57. Someone breaking into my house and hurting my cats is the worst, especially if I am not there. I had someone break in and attack me 10 years ago and still have anxiety attacks from it. I am in therapy and have closed-circuit television, but it pops into my head every single night. Story 58. Being a narcissist or becoming the type of person my first stepfather was. To this day, I am terrified of being either. Story 59. I have no idea. I do not really fear anything, if I am honest. I do not like doing some things, but I do not fear them. And I certainly do not fear people. I am more likely to get mad than I am to cower. Story 60. The real version, getting too close to people and getting hurt because of it. The Reddit version, being falsely accused of sexual misconduct. Story 61. The simple truth is not all of us become the men we once hoped we might be. My fear is I stop trying to be. Story 62. As a man, a caterpillar or a scania scares me, sometimes I Vico, but all of them scare me when they are coming head-on at high speed. Story 63. Dementia and forgetting my family. I have had several serious head wounds and overdosed approximately 10 times. Now I have a wife and 2 amazing children. I do not want my past to ruin my future. Story 64. The planet Earth. Literally everything happening here terrifies me for my children and their children. Story 65. That I might miss an opportunity or back out of something that would have made a huge difference. I am going to stop an event like this from happening this weekend. Wish me luck. Story 66. Not being able to protect my girlfriend. I am not the strongest person or the most in shape. I am terrified of the idea that we might get into a dangerous situation and I am unable to keep her safe. Story 67. Dying without finding my purpose in life is scary. I don't know what I am supposed to do, and I feel like I will live my whole life as a non-player character. Story 68. 1. The death of a child. 2. Something bad happening to my children's health. 3. Me dying before the children are old enough to care for themselves. 4. Something happening that would prevent me from providing for my children. Nothing else compares to those fears. A distant 5th is aging and losing my physical abilities and health. Story 69. There is not just one fear, there are multiple. Not being a good father, prostate or testicular cancer, my children being harmed and me not being able to help them, my kids being bullied relentlessly at school the way I was, home invasion, someone attempting to assault my partner when I am not around, ending up alone, or my partner passing before me. These fears are not solely based on being a man, but in certain situations, they are. Arguably, being a bad dad is my biggest fear because I want to be like my dad. That is a steep mountain to conquer. Story 70. People randomly capitalizing words in sentences on Reddit. I nearly lost my temper reading your post title just now. Story 71. Same situation as everyone else. Not living to see my children grow up. Being burned badly in a fire but surviving. Someone making a clone of Sir Alex Ferguson. Surviving nuclear war. That congealed crispy bit under a fried egg. Chucky. Story 72. I have seen prostate cancer, and it does run in the men in my family. Also, not being able to provide for your children or feeling like you are not doing a good job as a parent is scary. Story 73. Honestly, just knowing I do not matter. I am a cog in the machine. My thoughts, feelings, and well-being are irrelevant. All that matters to anyone is that I continue being useful. Realizing that all of your worth comes from what you can do for others is sobering, to say the least. It makes you wonder what will happen when you cease being useful. Story 74. Failing those who depend on me. Also dementia. My father has early onset. His older sister just died from it. Longevity runs in the family. My grandmother died at 103. For the last 30 years of her life, she did not know who I was. Story 75. While using the restroom, a sewer creature emerges from the water and harms me severely. Story 76. At some point, I will not be here to look after my son. It might be in 10 minutes or it might be in 30 years, but realistically, it will not be much more than 30 years. Eventually, I will be gone, and nothing anyone can do will change that. He is about to start primary school, and there is so much I still need to teach him, places to visit, and things to do. A few friends my age or slightly older with young children have died in the past couple of years. This has made me realize that at some point my son will have to do these things by himself. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.